Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how you doing?
I'm excited, but I'm
Me
always
too.
excited. Listen, I'm like one of those puppies that when you come home and they start doing the wagging the tail stuff and stuff, and then eventually they'll pee on your leg. That's me today, without the pee.
Without
Without the pee.
Okay, good Les. Thanks
Ask
for
me why I'm
sharing.
excited.
Thanks for sharing. Are you gonna welcome
Ask me
everyone?
why I'm excited. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You see how excited I get? I forgot to tell people where we are and who we
This
are.
is your
And
version of peeing on the leg. Yeah.
it is,
Okay.
it is. Welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Hey folks, go ahead Les. You
Hi.
can be excited now.
Okay, I'm excited because we have our first guest of the year.
Yes.
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 And
Welcome.
oh,
Welcome.
is it going to be
Welcome.
a pleasure? You all are going to flock to this lady because she is just so interesting, and she takes a concept that I bet you think you know and turns it 180.
That's right. Thank you
That's
for
the
not
way that
saying
I look at
360.
this.
Thank you for not saying
I
360.
have a little education. But
So,
go ahead, Ange.
okay, may I? May
Yes.
I?
You see,
Because
we're
she's
all
my,
exciting. Okay, I'm going
listen,
to calm down.
DK is my new best friend, so just give me some space with her, please. Give me
Yes.
some space. Okay.
We're fighting over you now.
We're-
I love it. I feel honored.
this is DK Ciccone. Did I do the last name correctly? Awesome.
Fantastic. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And she is someone that I met a few months ago. And you know, the people that you meet that you immediately know that they're going to like take up space in your life from that point forward. She's one of them for sure. We clicked almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really all I needed. But then I got to know her more, and I got to know about the work that she does and where her passion and service to the world resides, and how she came to do this work. And then it's like, absolutely amazing. Recently, DK and I saw each other at an event in Puerto Rico, the ROI Millionaire Summit by Hello Seven. And so I just like last week was doing a lot of hugging, a lot of DK and Angela hugging was going on.
And a lot of
It was,
dancing.
yeah, and dancing, yes! Let me tell you, DK has some moves. I'm serious. Like, what? Like the moves that I used to do in Brooklyn, but I can no
Okay.
longer do because I've forgotten all of them. Those kinds of moves.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to introduce her book to everyone. This is it.
Well, I
It's
was going to
called.
read a little bit more about her official
Okay,
bio, but you can
okay,
go ahead.
okay, okay. You can do that. Let me just
Ease in, ease in.
low me. It's
Okay.
called You're Meant to Move, a guide to conquering chronic pain, increasing stress resilience, and reclaiming an active life. I want to say one other thing. One other thing. You know, I'm like the joy person, right? I call myself the joy strategist because if we don't make joy intentional, we end
Mm,
up not having a whole lot of it.
it's true.
And DK, this came to me just after the last meeting that we were on together. And I was talking about how um, people, as they get older, they think that pain is just a part of life and they
Mm.
just expect it. And Leslie, I forgot to look up when we had Chisa on, who talked about the fact um, nurse practitioner, and she talked about our diet and how our diet affects our bodies and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
she reminded us that there are ways that we feel that we're not supposed to feel. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what DK is going to talk about is pain and how we can address our pain. So, I'm going to leave that there. But the new thing that I wanted to add is that when I talk about joy, I am not often talking about the tiptoe through the tulips kind of joy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I'm talking about the joy where you intentionally make decisions to bring more fulfillment, more peace, less pain, less stress into your life. And that is the part that DK is bringing to us today, is how pain can be managed. And you said, DK, that you talk about pain, but to me, you talk about pain relief, which is a part of the flip that Leslie is talking about. And then when I read your book, I didn't finish reading it, but I actually put aside the book that I was reading so I could get into this book. I was blown away at the way that you address the topic, and just the almost conversational tone that you take in your writing that makes it like, of course, absolutely, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that? It's just so well written, and so, I think, written in such a way that people are not afraid of being scolded for feeling the way that they feel. It's almost
That's
like
so
you take their
important.
hand.
That's so
Yeah. And Leslie,
important.
I'm just going to get my time in, because I know you being an anesthesiologist and DK on this pain relief journey, I just figured you guys were going to.
We'll let you back in. We promise to let you back in.
So I'm taking my time now,
No, it's
and I'm
okay.
going to just wrap it. But DK, so well written. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you, and love the work that you do, and that you turned a pretty devastating point in your life into this. It's so remarkable. I'm so happy to know you, and happy that I'm on the planet at the same time as you. Okay.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Thanks so much. Thank you
I
so
know.
much.
And I'm just going to briefly read part of a bio that I found. So, DK owns and operates a post-rehab Pilates studio, movementremedies.org, where she guides individuals through movement journeys to address chronic pain. Her new book, You're Meant to Move, A Guide to Conquering Chronic Pain, Increasing Stress Resilience, and Reclaiming an Active Life, details her own journey living with chronic pain since the age of 13, and how you can find freedom and joy in your body again. As a consultant, she helps health and life sciences organizations deploy behavior change theory to create tailored organizational readiness plans that improve health, and thereby the health of the organizations. I give to you and the public DK Ciccone.
Wow, that was the most impressive run. I don't even know where to begin, but it's an incredibly rewarding experience to be here with you wonderful
Thank
ladies
you.
today, and thank you for including me in this
So
awesome endeavor.
So tell us, I know we've all been talking about you. Tell us a little bit about where this, I call it body work, where this journey started.
Yeah, so as Angela mentioned, I talk about in the book how I had this kind of devastating moment that was my first collision course with very debilitating low back pain. And so that is kind of stands aside in terms of my own journey with pain. But much later, I herniated a disc in my low back, and that was in 2007. And I was trying to find my way back to movement, because being able to move in my body was such a big part of my identity, and I felt very lost. And I was just so uncomfortable, and I couldn't figure out how to move safely. And, doctors were kind of saying just walk, or I also had aqua therapy and things like that, but I just it wasn't scratching my itch, I guess. And someone said to me, I heard Pilates is great for backs. And so I said, well, sure. So I found a Pilates studio and where I was living in New Haven, Connecticut at the time, and started. And honestly, from my first class, I found that I had relief from that class.
Wow.
Now, I'm not here to say that Pilates is some kind of a magical, movement method. I think that there are many movement methods that speak to different bodies and different, situations. It met me in all the ways I needed. It met me where I was in that moment, and it brought me some relief. And so from that point forward, it became an important part of my own pain management toolbox because, of course, there are lingering things that have gone on in my body since then. But it wasn't until 2017, about 10 years later, that when I was, as you mentioned, you touched on my corporate life as well. I was previously at a top 5 consulting firm, working, crazy hours, traveling a lot. I was chasing after, titles and other people's kind of definition of what success looked like in my life. And I'm at my core a tender-hearted, I think, empathetic person who wanted to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And that kind of way of showing up was not jiving well with the corporate environment that I was in. And it led to me having daily panic attacks at work, where I would just lose the ability to breathe, to stand, to do anything. And I if you've ever had a panic attack before, it's so weird. It's like this thundercloud rolls in, and you're like, I'm dying. And, like you've no facts.
Close in. Yeah.
Like there's nothing about the situation that says like you're definitely dying, but everything inside your body is screaming you're dying.
Yeah.
So really freaky, and it happens like repeatedly. And so I said, okay. It's time to take a little look-see. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Take a look-see.
All right, can I just stop you right there for a second? Because there's a couple things and I just don't want to forget. So, what I know when people have panic attacks, and if once they identify them as panic attacks, we're Americans. The first thing we do, we start looking at medications.
It was the first time I kind of stopped. I felt like I had just been on this, hamster wheel, and I stopped and I said, like, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for?
Yeah.
I mean, at what point do you reach the level that feels like enough? And why am I chasing enough as defined by everybody outside me? And so, you're a people pleaser and you have some challenges you need to work out when someone says to you, well, what do you want? And you just get like a blank page inside your head,
Right.
So that was the beginning of a journey for me. And at the time, my pain had really come back as well to a level it hadn't in years.
Sure.
And that was when I said, I need to do something else. And I said, well, what is it that brings me joy? And of course I said, well, Pilates. Is there anything I can do with that? Wow. And so I, ended up giving it a try. There was a teacher training course in the studio where I was also taking classes at the time, because I was also taking classes. And I said, all right, well, what's the worst thing that happens? Like, maybe I'm terrible at this. Like, maybe I'll hate it, And so I started teaching. I went through the course, and the first time I remember it was January 2018, I taught my first course, like actual class by myself. And I was just like, that was amazing. This
is it.
And you're like, like you felt like that kind of really, that sense of, I guess, fulfillment. And so I gave my notice, and
she's like, peace out.
I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to figure this out.
Wouldn't want to be ya.
I mean, I would have loved to say a lot more, but
that's so courageous. We celebrate bold moves with things like that,
Yeah.
I mean, when I tell you it felt like life and death, I really mean it. You know what I mean?
Wow,
like I know that's a little dramatic, but
no, it's not.
I mean it in the sense of like living.
I get it.
Really living, not just existing, but like living.
Yeah,
because people don't realize that death is not that just cessation of life like that, but death can be 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If every day you're walking into a place that just dumps on you, and it's a dark place for your soul and your spirit.
Yeah.
Your body often knows these things before our head does.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
our head wants to tell our hearts, listen, don't beat so fast. It ain't that bad. It ain't that bad. I was speaking to one of the ROI participants over the weekend, and I said something like, it's in my head. And she says, your head is an asshole. She says, never. She said, do not.
I think that was Adana.
It was. She said, do not listen to your head. Listen to your heart.
Oh my gosh.
And that's exactly what it sounds like. You just said,
Yeah. I mean, mine's a persistent asshole. I have to have conversations with it all the time. But yeah, I mean, I really just felt I've been doing this wrong the whole time, and I think I really do believe that the roots of my original source of pain was also my body telling me that I had anxiety and other things going on that were not right. And so it's not a mistake or whatever that happened the way that it did. But so I was working in a fitness oriented kind of studio, but for me, Pilates was always about the pain, because for me, that was my go-to. And so I was telling them, because I mostly did private clients, I taught classes as well, but I said, send me all the people that have complex issues. I want to work with the really complex cases.
Wow.
Because a lot of folks don't, want to. And I said, I want to, I was taking extra courses and extra training and lots of anatomy and trying my best to, to get equipped. And it was really, I talk about in the book, I had a client with complex regional pain syndrome after being hit by a car in the crosswalk. Super traumatic experience that led to a bunch of surgeries and so on. And
can be devastating.
So that was when I realized there's more than this. There's more than just showing up and doing the exercises, because sometimes we would just move very little, and it was about talking about the pain. And it was about just creating space for her to be to grieve, to be like, wow. I can't believe my body can't do the thing I want it to do. I can't believe what this physical vessel I'm in is not lining up with the one I had in mind for myself at this stage in my life. And how do you reconcile that? And so, I was just like, there's more than just teaching these classes. I want to have a space where people feel like they can explore that dark side, and they can bring all the feelings that come with pain and show up any kind of way. And so eventually I went off and started Movement Remedies, and that's the space I have now, where I really try to make it about the whole journey of pain on all the experiences, and where we can have conversations about what's coming up for people as they're moving. That's more than just what muscles do you think are working right now, and do you So that's a long answer to your question, Leslie. But
this hits so close to home for me, because I have a loved one who has been suffering with chronic pain and multiple back surgeries for years. And we know that the chronic narcotics and pills don't often work and alleviate the trouble. Pardon me.
Even the surgeries don't always.
That makes the whole problem worse. However, that's another story. But what I've suggested to her is that she seek a therapist specializing in chronic pain.
Yes.
Because many years ago, I used to work in a pain management practice. And what I do know is that when you change your psychological outlook and your perception of pain, it can make a difference. But my loved one, all she keeps saying to me is, how is that going to make me feel better? How is that going to address my pain? So the way that we look at pain and think about pain can actually change our pain perception.
Yeah.
And you nailed that in your practice.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I was like scratching at it. I was kind of, I like knew it was there and I was trying to figure it out. And frankly, um, through whatever researching and, I read the book Explain Pain, which is by the Lorimer Moseley, who does a bunch of research in Australia. And eventually this led me to pain reprocessing therapy, which is taught by the Pain Psychology Center. And
I
I
need
did
to
their,
write that down.
yeah, I was going to tell you because they have a database of providers, and it's actually the course is actually built for mental health counselors, psychotherapists who have a counseling practice and want to work with people who have chronic pain. I was really grateful that they let me take the course as well because I don't do those services, but how I talk about pain in my sessions is now very carefully informed by that work. So there is a program out there for that, and I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna.
But his whole approach is essentially, pain is just one response that your brain may have to any kind of stimulus. So your brain responds to stimuli all the time. Sometimes pain, is it's an accurate response because the brain is trying to interpret what's going on in its environment, and it's going, okay, I feel a sensation. Is it a threat to my physical being? Is it an infection? Is it a cut? Is it something, a break, whatever?
Yeah.
And the brain is just not always right. So, sometimes it's just responding.
Tell me about it. The brain is an asshole.
The brain is an asshole. I mean, honestly, you should just call this episode "The Brain is an Asshole," and we would cover all the bases. Or just, he's, that like, yeah, well, no, he's an asshole. I don't really know how else to put it. Of course, I've decided it's a he. Yeah. But that we also just have connections that we build. Like like for the example of the person that I worked with who was hit by a car. Like certain experiences were very triggering, and I see that a lot with people, especially with falls. Like in folks after a certain age, now the idea of falling triggers pain in their bodies, kind of like anticipatory pain. And then you end up with fear of movement causing pain and guarding. Exactly. Yes, Leslie, all that stuff. Exactly. So folks don't even realize it. And it's challenging to have that conversation because you bring it up and it kind of sounds dismissive. So you have to figure out a way to say it that's not just, because I know I first heard things about how my mindset might be affecting my pain, and I was just like, oh, so you're saying I'm crazy.
So you're saying I'm crazy. Right. Yeah. But people don't realize that we are all those things. It's the biopsychosocial, they say.
Yes.
I mean, our outward environment.
Exactly.
I advise this loved one often, why don't you surround yourself in things that are beautiful? Sit by a lake and look at birds. Right. As a way to distract yourself, a distraction technique or whatever, it's not all about the physical and the body, but it's hard when pain is a big motivator, it's a huge motivator, so it's very difficult to look outward when you're in such distress.
And I do try to like remind people that it's functioning correctly. Like, it's an evolutionary response for survival. And so the fact that it's causing you to feel like you can't focus on anything else is because if you did step on a rusty nail and you didn't do something about it, or if you did have an infection that you didn't treat, then it would be a life or death situation. But, we sometimes just build up this and of course, we're on the earth longer now than in our, ancestors many generations ago would have been. So we gather more conditioned responses as we go. And I think this connects to what you were saying about joy too. It's you have more trauma, more triggers, and so you're more sensitized. And so it is harder. Like you do have to really figure out how to re-architect a view of the world in which you feel safe in your body.
Right. Right. I have to refer to something that I've read that I had to highlight because in a book that talks about pain, and how to manage pain, there's a chapter called Tapping into Your Heart's Desire. And you know that I just kind of dovetailed right there.
Yeah.
And what I'll say kind of leading into it is Pilates studios, they're intimidating to me. Right?
I was going to say the same thing.
They just
I
look
look
like
at the machinery and I'm like,
looks like
I can't
torture
do that.
chamber.
I can't do that.
I mean, you know, however, what you talk about is, and I know this is DK. This is who you are. You talk about how we're conditioned, and what we see on social media are people kind of doing things to the extreme, right? Doing things that show how superhuman, or how, you know, they can stand on, do an arm stand while doing something funky with their feet. And you're like,
Yes.
what? That doesn't do anything to help you to get through life in a joyful way. That's, you know what I mean? That's not, I mean, how many times are you going to do that? Is that the way you're going to cross the street? Is that the way you're going to avoid traffic? I'm just, it's like,
I'm going to slide
crazy,
across
right?
on my one hand. By
Exactly. And so
that's hilarious.
So you talked about the Joseph Pilates, and that his whole shtick was around, and this is on page 95 for when you guys get the book. It is the purpose of being active is to be able to fulfill life's physical demands with maximum ease and enjoyment, right? It's not about building up your muscles, or even you know, looking a certain way. And you can, those things could be additive, but they shouldn't be kind of the whole goal about it. I want to make sure that my body reacts when I'm about to fall, right? And know what to do, or knows how to properly step up on things, or even not have fear around things like that. Not to, I do want to be buff though. I really do. That's in my, that's coming back in my future, but it will not be central. It will be, again, additive. So I'm going to just read this part too.
Okay.
If our goal is to complete life's tasks with spontaneous zest and pleasure, we're training the body for living well. Your movement program should reflect the specific gestures you need to, I'm trying to read without my glasses, to execute, to participate fully in the world around you, right? That's what it should be about.
That's health 2.0 that we've been talking about. I was telling that to Daryl just today. I had this long conversation with my brother, and I was saying, do you know the concept of health 2.0 and outlast and living and what have you? So the whole thing now, it's not about preventive medicine. It's not about current taking care of our bodies. But what's in our health 2.0 is that project yourself 10 years from now. You're in retirement. You've saved up your enough savings. Everything is going well. Now you want to travel. Are you fit enough to walk through an airport?
Right.
To get from terminal A to terminal C.
In Charlotte Airport, where I am all the time. Can you carry a carry-on through an airport?
Yeah.
So your goal is to be able to retire. But are you ready to retire?
Exactly.
And the thing is, we need to do things today in order to be able to do these things when we have the money, when we're no longer working, and when we're retired.
Yeah.
My brother also said something that's interesting. He says, you know, I reached out to my friends or whatever. That's also part of Health 2.0. The relationships that you continue to cultivate today are your travel companions in 10 years from now. How many elderly people say, you know, all of my friends are gone and I wish that I had company and I'm so lonely. Well, when you cultivate these type of fitness goals, not for today, because you don't need them today. I can walk through the airport today. I need to walk through the airport in 10 years from now.
Right.
But it starts today.
Because you know I won't be. I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and tell them to leave the door open for you. That's.
Get the wheelchair ready. You order the wheelchair for me. No, God forbid.
I mean, being generous. I mean, not just get on the plane, but like maybe actually be able to like, have you been to the Amalfi Coast and like how rocky those stairs are? I mean, like the places you visit too. I mean,
yes.
I remember visiting Amalfi actually.
Oh, that's on my bucket list.
And looking at the older, women who, by the way, were, little scarves around their necks with the little bags and just, and they're going up and down stone stairs that are not of our standards, right? Nothing to code or anything, and they're all like slide like side to side and unstable, and they're just going away because that's how you go down and get your groceries. And so I think the point though is that there's so much hope because the body can progress.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was so exciting. Like the more that I learned and the more that I have experienced all different kinds of bodies is that it's not like you reach a certain stage in your body and the body itself says, I can no longer build muscle. Like as long as you load your muscles, they will build muscle. I mean, unless you have some kind of condition that makes
it ain't too late.
It's incredible.
Like you can, like that Train with Joan. I don't know if you've followed her. She's been covered by a couple magazines. Didn't start exercising until she was like 70 something.
Oh, yes. A black
she
woman.
Had a health
was
crisis.
It,
she's not a black woman. But...
No, it's someone else that I saw because I have a picture of her that's #goals and I keep it in my phone in my vision album. But anyway, keep going. Tell me, repeat her name.
She's called Train with Joan on Instagram, I think. I don't remember her last name.
Okay.
But and I'm sure there are a few. But like the point is, you can track the journeys of these folks who didn't start building muscle until their 70s with any intention, and are like fitness models. And again, it's not about the aesthetics, but. And she says, I still have pain in my joints sometimes, but she can go pick up her bags and she can travel and she can do all these things that she sees folks around her not able to do. And I just think I love stories like that because it just proves the point that, it's not like your body just expires like milk and then you can't do anything anymore,
Not like milk. It doesn't get sour like milk.
No, you can just keep on trucking. You can keep doing those dance moves. I mean, that's my goal. I want to be able to keep doing those.
Hence, that's moves. Why you dance the way you do.
That's what, yeah. She's good. She's really good. My knees were starting to hurt, and
mine too. But might never matter.
So, DK, you actually started a section in this well-covered book with differentiating between pain perception and reality.
Yeah.
So is there a difference between what we're experiencing as pain and is it not really pain?
Yeah. So I think that there are plenty of times in our lives where we may feel that that pain is of such an extent that it's actually preventing us from doing something. And so, what I'll usually have a conversation with someone is if they say, well, I can't move because I can't take that walk because it hurts my knees. And I say, okay, well, I mean, have you tried to take a walk? When's the last time you tried to take a walk? And then they say, well, I don't know. I haven't tried. I haven't done it in a while. And so I think we end up proving our own hypothesis. And so I encourage people to create their own mini experiments to sort of like prove to themselves like whether or not the limitations they believe they have are real or if it's like something they told themselves. Like I spoke to someone at the conference last week who was saying, oh, my back really hurts. And I said, well, when did that start? And she said, well, I took a really long bike ride with my husband and it really hurt after. And I was like, I get that you could be sore, but like your spine is really strong. Like unless you fell off the bike, like there's nothing that you could have done in that bike ride that could have fundamentally changed the tissues in your spine. Right. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like I would be really surprised unless something crazy happened. And so have you tried to ride a bike since then? Or like, is it possible that there was something going on in your life that was happening, then we often attribute a physical symptom to a physical thing, and there's often a physical symptom with no
Yes.
physical thing. And then she said,
Yes.
now
Wait,
that
wait,
you,
wait, stop. You're going to have to repeat that slowly, please. For the people
Yes.
in the back, including me. Yeah, I
um,
want to lock that in.
we often attribute a physical symptom to a physical problem, but
Okay,
many times
yes.
the physical symptom is actually caused by something that's not physical.
Ah,
In the
got you.
absence of an actual organic problem.
Wow.
So people may say, I need a CAT scan, I need an x-ray. You gotta find something. You gotta find something. Very
Yeah.
often it's not.
Yeah.
So
Because
I'm going to
people
say
want something to fix.
yeah.
It's almost like if you're a surgeon, you see everything as a surgical problem.
Yes.
People want something to fix. If it's broken, I have to fix it because this is the cause of the problem. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily so.
So, okay, so devil's advocate here.
Yep.
Um, there seems to be a hard line between physical and not, whatever we're calling it, mental, let's
Yes.
say. Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Psychological.
Psychological. But that's a really hard pill to swallow because, and I think this is a big part of why, is because psychological is so, it's such a loaded, and it's almost like it's not real if it's psychological.
Stigmatizing.
Right.
It's
Right.
so stigmatized, and
Right.
Yes.
psychological is as real as
Yes.
physical. It's
It
just
Yes.
that
doesn't
you
make
can
the pain any less real. Yeah.
exactly you can
Yes, we're
disconnect
not.
the two,
They're not
but
saying
they're
you're
Yes.
crazy if we say
right.
that there are
But actually,
psychological
Les,
components to pain.
sometimes they do say you're crazy. That's the
Right.
problem, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes people are presented that if it's something that is in the mind, as if your brain isn't this delicate and amazing part of your body, even though it can be an asshole, it's also just as real as a broken finger
Yeah.
in terms of, do you know what I
How it
mean?
feels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
So,
Perception is reality.
yeah. And I think what DK is saying in what her book, I really I can't say enough.
It's
It's
so
so well written.
comprehensive. It covers
It's
so many
really
things.
comprehensive, really. And I'm saying that because I love you, but Leslie's saying that because she's a physician and she actually knows.
And
Um,
I just kept sitting up and like, huh?
right.
I didn't
um,
realize that you read the book as well, Leslie. That's awesome. Thank
I
you.
didn't.
yeah.
I didn't. I ordered
Oh,
the book
okay.
for myself. It didn't come as yet. And I was looking at excerpts of it. And I ordered one for this loved one who is suffering with chronic
Oh,
pain.
wow.
So
Yeah.
she should get it soon as well.
Um, I just lost my train of thought, but the do you think, to what extent do practitioners like DK, like you, take care in how you speak of these things? Like one is real, the other one isn't. Like, how do you kind of bridge that for people, especially those people who may have been told by every other practitioner until they met you that, it's all in your head. If we don't see anything on the CAT scan, there's nothing there. If we don't see anything on the
Mm-hmm.
MRI, there's nothing there. It's
Mm-hmm.
you got a problem I can't fix. Get out. You know what I mean? Um,
And
I
worse, take
yeah.
Tylenol. Just take Tylenol.
Yeah, or take time. Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you, in your practice, DK,
Hmm.
speak to people with the understanding that those two things exist, um, and it doesn't diminish. It almost gives them something that they can address versus something that they
Yeah,
can't.
sure.
So, I don't actually like address it directly very much in when I'm working with people because
Hmm.
I have the benefit of them coming in with the desire to move. So for me,
Ah,
everything is in the
right.
context of
Yeah, you
being
have a
able to
selected
move.
population.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like, and it's so I usually try to ask, if they're saying that they can't do XYZ because they have pain, then I'll usually try to prove the positive. Like I'll say, have you ever been able to do that without pain? have you ever been able to do that activity and not have pain?
Okay.
And then maybe say, okay, well, and then almost always there's a yes. And then I'll say, what was different about that time than now? So I'll kind of try to leave them there on their own. Like I don't, And then I'll say, and then I try to just come at it from a hopeful place and say, so-and-so, I hear what you're saying. In the absence of a diagnosis that says that there's anything that requires us to not move, then there's really nothing for us to do but to move. So, I'm confident that you can get to a place where you feel comfortable in your body. And like, I've seen it with other people, and I have, based on what you've told me, everything points to it that it's possible for you too. So it's easier because I'm not trying to eliminate I really never go into it from a conversation of I'm trying to eliminate your pain.
Oh, because, I love that.
Like my thesis is like, pain or no pain, you have to move. So that's my priority, is that people move.
I love that.
And what happens is that a lot of times when you move, the pain either just dissipates because of the positive chemicals in your brain and body.
Endorphins.
And so on. Or the pain dissipates because if it was a conditioned response, you start teaching your body not to fear that thing anymore. So a lot of times it happens along the way.
Right.
Wow.
But for me, it's usually a conversation about, is it so much pain that we need to stop? Or is it a pain that we can work around? Or, kind of trying to stay in that safe range.
This is
so
wonderful.
I never put myself in a conversation. I try not to put myself in a situation where I'm telling someone, well, it's in your head. Because I feel like it's like a dead end. It's kind of, like what do I do with that information?
But in your head that's also real. It's your reality also, and it's in your head is meaningless to patients who have issues. What can we know everything is in our head. Our head is our assholes. We just said that. So what is it that we do? How do we modify the way that we move or think or whatever? I've been suffering from knee pain, left knee pain. I know I have arthritis, overweight, overuse, I'm on my feet all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But my orthopedist said, and I asked him, I said, if I exercise, will it hurt it? He said, no. Thank you. I've been on the Peloton. I've been doing this and that.
Exactly.
I did not want, because our natural inclination is if we have pain, we want to close in. We want to stop moving.
Yes.
It's poor for, it's worse for circulation. It's worse for your mood. It's worse. There's so many reasons not to stop moving. But
Leslie, you don't need to read the book. You're basically saying all the things.
No, I need the book. I need the book. But we gotta resist that. We can't stop moving.
Yeah.
We can't stop moving. We don't have a whole lot of time left. I know you have a lot to say, Ange, but
I do.
I really am intrigued by stress resilience.
Okay, yes, we can go there.
What is stress resilience and why is it important? And it sounds like somebody I need to know.
I want me
Give
some
him
of
my
that.
number.
So, stress resilience, that word choice really comes from the fact that I think we're often told, and having had this corporate background, and also just living in a country that I think is sort of obsessed with a really high stress lifestyle. I think we get told we just need to manage our stress. And so the concept of stress resilience comes from, my belief that stress is in the environment and I cannot control the environment. I can only control my reaction to the environment.
Gotcha.
So I think stress management puts the blame on the person that you're not doing enough things to make yourself capable of living up to the level of stress that's required for you. And I think that's bullshit.
Yes.
That's some patriarchal white bullshit. Like, who wrote the rules of the corporate game? And I don't want to be a part of the way that, like, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, we have to live with our human self forward. And certain stimuli are just too much, and you need to learn, like we were talking about, stress resilience is about making sure you know your body's signals and you're not detached from your body, so that when it starts to tell you, hey, like, this is too much, you step away. But it's also
You're
about
not
calling
pour
out
the cup of coffee to deal with it better. You not
Yes.
drink the alcohol,
Or the
cup of
Prozac.
alcohol, or the Prozac, or the this to this.
But it's also calling out the system. And it's funny. I have a workshop tomorrow at my studio called Radical Stress Resilience, because I really want to start talking about this more, because it's also about, like, why don't we start writing rules of work that we like? Like, why do we got handed these ideas about what productivity is. And, we know they're not good for us. Stress is literally killing us. Stress is literally killing us.
Yes.
Like, you can link stress to just about every condition, that kills people.
Yes.
And yet we're continuing to live in a stress-riddled environment that is not good for us. So why don't we just work backwards, and instead of managing it, we actually rewrite the rules? That's my feeling on that.
Listen, just thinking about that relieved my stress.
DK for president.
And we didn't say vice president, we said president.
President.
Yes, absolutely. DK, that is it right there in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it's like, change the rules. We don't have to be like this.
We don't. We make the rules. So why did you
We're
know
the
that we
richest
make the rules?
We're the richest country in the world, and I have people coming in being like, I can't come in and take 30, because I do 25-minute express sessions. I'm like, you don't have to come to me for an hour. Right. Come in for 25 minutes and move that joint. I promise you'll feel better. And they're like, I can't because I have to be at my desk. I'm like, dude,
I'd rather drag my stiff joint to the desk.
Right. So like, you're gonna reduce you're gonna increase the risk that you are incapable of sitting on the toilet and getting up when you're 80 because you want to sit at your desk right now because someone told you that you
had to, that they
you
couldn't
had
do
to
the
be
work
successful,
without you.
right?
Oh my gosh,
and they don't,
that's
and
crazy.
these we workers don't realize that in 2 months they will forget our names after we're gone. They'll say, "Who was that?"
Kidding.
She was like, "Do you remember who she was?" I don't remember who. They don't know that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the health system too. Like, I mean, we're not even touching on this, but lastly, working.
That'll be the next one when you come back.
working in healthcare. I mean, I think, and because I actually spoke to a nurse last week about the book and about some of this stuff, and she was like, "You got to talk to healthcare workers." I mean, talk about a system that, I mean, corporate world is one thing, but boy, do we beat up our healthcare workers and our clinicians.
Yes.
Boy, is that an environment. You go into organizations and talk about this stuff because it's so important to learn these things and just to start thinking about it on the C-suite level, so it can, so they can at least start caring about it. Because remember, productivity is the goal. If you want a fit, productive workforce,
right,
what are you going to do about it?
Well, you're sure as hell not going to pay for that ridiculously expensive, like, Ozempic weight loss clinic smoking cessation that is not helping anybody. Like, why don't you deal with the invisible suffering of your people instead? And maybe they'll actually feel good coming to work. I mean, it blows my mind, the money that gets spent, billions of dollars on workplace wellness that is just like, whew. See, you hit a button for me. Sorry.
No, this is space for that. This is space for that.
This is your safe space, right?
That's right. The boomers, well, the Black boomer besties, we from Brooklyn.
You're a special breed.
We allow that because things just, some things just don't make any sense. And so why are we building things with that as the foundation? Why it's like you're just slapping on Band-Aids on stuff that you could let's get to the bottom of it.
We're smarter than that.
It's frustrating.
So we only have a minute or two left, Ange. DK, anything you wanted, did we leave out or?
Yeah, tell us what you're doing and anything that we should make sure that we share with our listening audience. I'd love to be able to do that.
I always want to leave with the fact that, like, whatever story you're in right now and whatever you're feeling about pain and how your body has let you down, like, it's okay to be in that place, and there is always hope, and there's always a path towards feeling better in your body and what it's capable of, and making progress towards the your heart's desires, as we talked about. I mean, there's always hope. Like I feel like pain is just full, as a narrative, like is full of so much, like, oh, this is a life sentence, like you're stuck with this forever, it's never going to improve. And I just know that's not the case. In terms of what's coming up for me, I mean, I am actually working on a retreat in the spring called Peace and Power in Perimenopause, because I didn't even touch on that, but like that's an experience that I'm now in, and I'm frustrated with the medical system about that. So I want to get women together to share their stories, and also smash some stuff. We're gonna have a smashing room that we can smash things.
That's why I love you. That's why I love you.
So that's exciting. And then I'm going to be building out a coaching program that is a companion to the book, so that it goes through 12 weeks.
That's wonderful.
And then we can go as groups and kind of work together, through the assignments in the book, because accountability is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for everybody, and it's especially hard when you're in a situation of pain.
Or a village is so important.
Oh my gosh, so much.
It's so important.
Oh, that's amazing.
We're going to put all of this in our show notes and on the episode notes and things like that, so people are going to certainly know how to reach you and all of this. Before I forget, I need to recognize 3 people today, actually. One is Erica, the other is Kim, and the other is Dr. Neil. These were the 3 people I was in the operating room with today. And I said, I got to get out of here. I have to get out of here. And they moved their patients, our patients, so quickly today so that I could be here for this session. And I told them I would give them a shout out, and I'm glad I didn't forget. So
nice job.
Thank you guys. And we worked as a team today.
Thanks for your hard work.
DK, it was wonderful having you, as we expected. Lots of information, lots of heart.
And I want more, but I know.
Lots of care.
I know, right?
Listen, we are definitely going to be doing some in-person events this year. And, it's just gonna, we know so many amazing people. You're now one of the amazing people who are in our village. And so to be announced, we'll be doing some in-person stuff. Okay, don't worry. Okay. And you'll be there.
So if you like this episode and other episodes of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn, please like us, subscribe to us, tell your friends about us, and I'd love for you to join our Patreon, the Besties Squad.
Whoop, whoop.
So this has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.